71% of real estate agents closed zero. That's a zero deals last year. That's crazy.
So first of all, I think this stat is alarming, but it's also like, I believe it. I sold real estate before I became a full-time investor, and like the transactions, it's good when it's good and it's bad when it's bad. And so what happens is like the agent, when it's good, agents flood in, and there's just a huge surplus of agents because they're like, look, I can go make some quick money and change careers or whatever by getting a license.
Sell
And
my
then the
neighbor's house.
and then the transactions dry up, and most agents don't understand that like being an agent is sales. It's very, very transactional. And if you're not a salesperson and you're not forward thinking, you're not prospecting, then yeah, like I think it's a tough industry to be in. The other thing too that's interesting is like, and I thought this in the beginning, like agents think that they're going to jump in, they're going to be investors. By being an agent, getting your license, you're not an investor. You're not playing the investment game. You're playing a transactional game. You're a salesperson, and you happen to be selling the product of homes, and helping folks buy and sell homes. And so yeah, like, when interest rates go up, transaction volume dries up and agents suffer.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. And I mean, let's just say it the way it is. Like, if you're a real estate agent listening to this show, or you're an investor listening to this show, like we're not trying to beat around the bush. Look, real estate, there's a transactional aspect to it. When you're a real estate agent or you're a broker, you rely on transactional real estate. But to build wealth is different than making money. When you transact in real estate, when you earn a commission based on someone else's purchase, on someone else's sell, you're just transacting real estate. You're literally living or dying by somebody else buying or selling a piece of real estate. When you own the real estate, you own a hard asset like real estate. You benefit from not only the cash flow and upside appreciation, you don't have to continually transact. Yes, you need the property to be rented. Yes, you prefer positive cash flow over negative cash flow, but you're not relying on the next deal to make you money because you own an asset. You have built some level of wealth. Even if you own one property that cash flows, you've built some wealth, you have some cash flow, and you're not relying on the next transaction in order to make money. And that's the way it is. A lot of people, I mean, Mitch just said it, and it's so true. I talk to people all the time that want to invest in real estate. They have a desire to be real estate investors, and instead they go get their license because they think that will get them closer to real estate. And yes, sometimes it does. And yes, sometimes real estate agents will transition out from being transactional agents to actual investors that own assets that put money in their pocket. But a lot of people become real estate agents because they want to be in real estate. They want to eventually be investors, and they just put themselves in a new hamster wheel, needing to transact in order to make money, and they never end up investing, or they buy a couple deals and they're stuck in that hamster wheel of needing to transact in order to make money instead of buying the asset themselves and putting money in their pocket from the cash flow and having those assets and having that cash flow regardless of having to transact in real estate. They own the real estate. They're the investor. They're not the transactional agent. That's the difference. There's my 2-minute rant.
And ranting is good on this show. I would be curious to go back and look at the statistics after 2008, or the statistics during COVID, or this is obviously a statistic that's sort of on the tail end of an interest rate shock. And I don't think it just applies to real estate agents. It's anybody that's transacting in real estate, whether you're a wholesaler, you're a real estate agent or broker, or if you are a house flipper or building speculation houses, spec houses, and selling them, you are just at the whims of market shocks. And if you don't have assets, to Gabe's point, that you've built equity that you can tap, that you can leverage, that you can move around, you don't have cash flow that's funding your lifestyle or funding your business, you are really at the whim of things, black swan events. I would argue that obviously the pandemic was a black swan event. The Great Recession of 2008 was a black swan event. And this interest rate shock environment. A lot of people aren't talking about that as much. Yes, rates went up, but they went up faster than they ever have in the history of the country. And that is a black swan event as well, which was sort of at the tail end of this frenzy, this frothy money printing frenzy that we got into during COVID. So yeah, I mean, if you're transactional in real estate, you're not an investor. You're transacting for money. You're trading hours for dollars. And when shit moves around in the market, you're left with your pants down.
I think I'll offer some good news, because if you're a real estate agent, broker, even a lender, a lot of lenders get into, they'll like pursue that career because they're like, well, I want to get closer to real estate or be a real estate investor. Being a lender or a real estate agent is not playing the game of investors. However, you're set up nicely to make that transition. I know, because this is what I went through. I did get a base knowledge for how to talk to sellers, how to talk to buyers. I got some basics in negotiation 101. I started to understand lending and how lending worked. I understood the transaction, due diligence, the title work, like all of those things, not to mention I built some contacts. So I'm not saying, hey, if you want to be an investor, go be a real estate agent. What I'm saying is, if you are an agent today and you want to be an investor, you've got to realize you've built somewhat of a foundation, and it's a great spot to be in if you're already selling, to go propel and move into being a full-time investor. And there's a ton of opportunity there, and people don't understand that can be used as a vessel to go invest. Yeah, you're not playing the game, but you can use that base knowledge to jump in and actually become a full-time investor. There's other things you need to learn. There's other networks you need to build. Of course, there's other tactics that you need to understand, but it can be a place where you say, look, I'm tired of being transactional. I'm tired of, paying a massive amount of my check. By the way, you get a commission check for 20 grand. And I used to get all excited until I had to go pay my taxes, and it was like $5,000 or $6,000. So by the time you pay taxes and marketing and fees to your brokerage and all the things, it's tough to make a living in real estate. And it's also tough to build a legacy in real estate because you're so transactional. So I think the good news is, if you're out selling real estate and you're active in the market, you can make that transaction a full-time investor because you do have some foundational knowledge.
If you like what you're hearing so far and you are not making at least $120,000 a year with cash flow real estate or have millions of dollars in equity, come check out our 0 to 100 elite community. The link is below. Check it out. That is good news, Mitchell. Thank you for pointing that out.
Well, you're welcome, because you guys just offer bad news the whole time. So I don't want, these brokers are driving in their car. They're weeping right now. They're crying in their cars and they're scared. And I'm just saying,
hey, look, Mitch called real estate agents little bitches off the air. So I'm calling him out on that.
Well, that's not true.
It's true. I recorded it, but it's just because it's not on this episode. But look, no, that it is good news. I think the important thing is that you just understand the difference. I have friends that have built amazing real estate brokerages and have done well as agents. I just want to point out that it's important to understand the difference and know what you're building. Don't start a property management company. Don't start a brokerage. Don't start wholesaling. Don't start doing all these things thinking that's investing or gets you closer to investing without truly understanding what you're getting yourself into. There's a lot of elements of real estate that is not investing. And again, I know people that have amassed great fortunes through building brokerages and having hundreds of agents under them. Just be really clear on what it is you're building. And more importantly, not just within real estate, but for your life. Make sure you're building something that truly aligns with what you want out of life. And if you believe that is through buy and hold cash flow real estate, make sure you actually buy and hold real estate that cash flows and puts money in your pocket, and that you're not just transacting. Because again, I'll say it again, when you transact, you're relying on somebody else to buy or sell real estate in order for you to make money. And to Travis's earlier point, yeah, you go back to 2008, like in 2003, 4, 5, everybody became an agent. Every checker at the grocery store, every barista, as Travis likes to point out, everybody became a real estate agent because the market was hot and anybody could set a sign in a yard and make a commission and do pretty well until the market changed. And then again, they were relying on other people to purchase real estate in order for them to make money. And all those agents went back to their other job or found another job and they don't exist anymore, right? And so just make sure when you get into real estate, you know what you're getting into and why, and that it supports the life that you want.
Here's a question for you, though. Why do most brokers not take the leap? I mean, Mitch, how many times have we been working with brokers in the mobile home park space? And they'll say it even off the cuff. They're like, damn, I should start buying these things. But they never do. Or they specialize in the mobile home park asset class. They know the economics. They know how well their buying clients are doing. yet they still are just transacting, or they're flippers. We've had people in our elite mastermind where they almost call flipping an addiction. They can't break out of the addiction cycle. They know they need to, but they absolutely don't. Why is that? Why? I mean, I'm not saying this applies to
I'll
all
tell you.
brokers, but
I'll tell you why I think. I think for one, it's a self-limiting belief. You have agents and brokers and flippers and wholesalers. I do believe it's a mindset shift. I do believe there is a self-limiting belief that they can actually become a successful investor. That's the mindset piece. Like, you got to get your mind right. But there truly is this like lack of belief that it's possible. And then the other piece, Travis, you nailed it. It is an addiction. Like the commission check, the wholesale fee, the flipping and the big pay. Like, it's addicting. Flipping, wholesaling, being an agent. Like, I do think that there's an aspect. It is that big dopamine hit. It's an addiction, and they're going, well, I look at this, I buy this property, it kicks off a little bit of cash flow every month. Why would I do that? Not looking at the long-term upside of this property or stacking multiple properties. They're like, why would I do that when I could go do this thing that I already know how to do and earn a commission with very little work?
Well, I mean, I wanted to be an investor my entire life, and I didn't know how to do it or what direction to go. So I did go. I joined Keller Williams, and I walked into the office, and I hung my license with them, and I started selling real estate. Now, they made it easy for me. Here's my argument. I think it's easy to find people who are selling real estate. It's easy to find support. It's easy to find people that will mentor you, or you can go join a team, or you can go take classes or whatever. And I think over time, until groups like our mastermind, for example, is one of them, until masterminds like ours, there hasn't been a place where people can go plug in and be like, okay, here are my people. Like, investors have traditionally been a bit quieter. They're harder to find. It's harder to find and build that network than it is to walk into a Keller Williams where there's 150 agents. So I think there's some friction there. And they're like, yeah, maybe they work with an investor, or they know an investor through their family or whatever, but it's been challenging to like find that. It hasn't been in your face. It hasn't been as accessible. I think today it's more accessible than ever to find the right group that's a good fit, right? But like, for me, I had a hard time finding that. And I had all the support in the world for real estate sales, but not real estate investing. I had to go buy the books. I had to kind of solve that puzzle myself. So I also think that like over time, it's been harder to access investors. It's been harder to find those.
I agree, but in 2026, there is no excuse. The information's out there. The groups are out there. I mean, we have a real estate mastermind, the 0 to 100 Elite. There's other masterminds out there. It's in 2026, you have the support, you have the mentors, you have the teachers, you have the people that are 1, 2, 10 steps ahead of you already doing the thing. And you have to get, whether it's ours or someone else, you have to be in a network, because, real estate investing, it's been a lone wolf kind of thing for a lot of years. It doesn't have to be that way anymore. Like, you have one conversation with somebody that's 10 steps ahead of you, that's 10 years ahead of you, 20 years ahead of you, and you're compressing those time frames. You're learning from other people's mistakes, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. And that's where you see those quantum leaps. That's where you see someone go from 1, 2 units to 10, 20 units, from 10, 20 units to 100, 200 units, because they're around people that are already doing it like it's just another Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, I think too, I've talked about this with multiple of our members. In my mind, there's 3 categories of money, and you can break it up however you want. But like, there's food money. That's like, you're going to work, you're putting food on the table, there's nothing left over. There's fast money. I think being a real estate agent or broker or lender, that's fast money. You can make really good money very, very quickly, but it's still transactional. And the last one is freedom money. Freedom money is like, look, I'm investing for my future. I'm investing for my kids. I'm investing for my cash flow, for my lifestyle. And that, I think people have a hard time going from fast money to freedom money, because it's a fundamental mind shift. You're investing for your entire life, maybe the lives of your children, or you're investing for your entire life to have a great life and give back to a nonprofit someday when you die, or whatever that is. Freedom money is different. You've got to have a mind shift, and it's not fast money. It's not necessary. Now, it can be fast in certain situations, but like, it's a fundamental long-term approach. It's not, hey, I'm going to close in 30 days and get paid 10 grand. It's, hey, I'm going to buy this property. I'm going to force appreciate, hold it for the next 10 years, and it's going to create me millions and a lot of freedom along the way.